Hello, hello. Welcome to the first podcast of RC Cinema. I'm Chris Hickey, and I'm here with Ryan Fitzgerald.
What's
Uh,
up?
Today, we're going to be basically introducing what we plan to do here on this pod and what we're about, and all the films we love and all the films that have inspired us. And basically, we're going to give a brief explanation of what we're going to do in this podcast series and then go on from there. So basically, Ryan and I both have backgrounds in film, both being in our college and in just life. We've always been surrounded by film and have had the pleasure to be able to experience great films from now and the past and whenever. But at the same time, we both have a very different perspective on the films that we like and the films that we enjoy. For example, I am definitely more into classical films and old films, and Ryan, you're more into.
I would say I'm more into the pop culture movie
Mhm.
and maybe niche things as they pertain to like certain genres. Definitely big like 80s horror, John Carpenter type deal, you know what I mean? But it goes like further than that, but I would say definitely more pop culture type movies, things that are more in the consciousness. Some things you might have to dig for, some things you might not have to dig for. Um, Big guilty pleasure is the Marvel movies. Love them, love them. Not every film critic or film buff or cinephile out there is like huge on them, but I think they have their place, and they do what they do really well, and there's a reason for them, and there's a reason why they make money. So the I guess you get to know mine and Chris's tastes better.
And to clarify off that some more, what we're going to be doing here for you guys is throughout each episode, we're going to have a movie that I have picked for Ryan to watch, and Ryan has picked for me to watch. Uh, Typically, there'll be movies that we either haven't seen, or it's been a while since we've seen them, or
Yeah,
movies that we choose to revisit. Our goal is to then see what we like, see what we don't like, why we think you guys would like it, why we think you guys wouldn't like it, and what sticked out to us in this. And then also, I think that through this, we hope to expand your horizons on film as we stay in this quarantine due to the COVID-19 issue. And of course, we are both in our homes. Hopefully, when this ends, we will be able to do this together,
yeah,
whether we're, um, you know, video chat. But until then, we're going to be doing this from homes, and hopefully, we give you guys some good recommendations.
yeah.
Again, we've known each other for about a year. A little background is that we've known each other for about 6 years, I think.
5 years,
Around
something
that,
like
give or
that.
take.
Yeah,
We bonded on film very young in our friendship, and we don't always agree on things, and in fact, we've gotten into
no,
several heated debates about film, and we've also, been struck with awe over films that we love together, and have been able to share that, and we hope we can share that with you guys too, and bring some humor and some fun into this
yeah.
pod.
This we will be poking fun at certain things for sure. What else? We'll definitely be poking fun at things. We'll definitely be. We might not even sometimes do a film exchange. We might decide to visit like a series of movies. We might like do like an episode each for like every Star Wars movie.
I imagine we are going to go very deep into Star Wars, but
Yeah,
that's all
but that's for yeah, and I'm
that comes
sure at some
later,
point
as
at
Bane says in The Dark Knight Rises.
yeah,
But let's get to our movies today. So yesterday in our pre-pod meeting, we discussed our starting movies. For Ryan, I chose the 19. Hold on, let me pull it up real quick just to make sure I have it right. But a Marilyn Monroe, Jack Lemmon, Tony Curtis, 1959 film directed by Billy Wilder, who's one of my favorite directors. Some Like It Hot, and it's an older movie, but it's a very funny movie, and definitely brings to light a lot of issues that are very, very funny. And Ryan, for me, you
uh,
picked
I picked Big Trouble in Little China, a Kurt Russell vehicle, if you will. Big John Carpenter classic. You can see Chris laughing right now because I'm hoping that he's laughing at the sheer campiness of this movie. I think it's like an instant classic. I remember watching this with my brother for the first time when I was just starting college. I was probably like 19 or something like that, maybe like 2 years before I met Chris or something, and absolutely loving it. Absolutely loving it. Like, um, eh, great, great, like just great all around. Super, as I said, campy. Great visual effects, especially for the time. I believe it was '86. Kurt Russell, a lot of fun in it. A lot, like this is just a you're going to the movies, popcorn type movie. You know, you're sitting down. You're not trying to get a lot of meaning out of this type of movie. It's just a fun little thrill ride the whole way through. You know, so yeah. So do you want to start, or do you want to start with your movie that I gave you, or do you want me to start with what I thought of Some Like It Hot? What do you want to start with?
We're on the topic of Big Trouble in Little China. We can we'll start with that. I mean, unless you want to go.
No, I think that's a good segue.
Yeah,
You know, tell
exactly.
me
Um,
so tell
well,
me what did you think of the cliffhanger ending?
so Ryan, going into this, I did not have high hopes. This is really kind of outside of the stuff I watch and enjoy, but you know 5 minutes in, I loved it. I thought it was campy. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was also very fantastical and drew and I after reading more about John Carpenter himself, it drew from a lot of elements of you know films that were made in the 30s and 50s that have this fantastical type of element to it that really
Mm-hmm.
interests me. I loved the creation of the body. And let me just preface this: when I watch a movie, and specifically a movie that is so location oriented, like Big Trouble in
Yeah.
Little China, I love when the location takes a character of its own.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Another example of this can be Jules Dassin's Night in the City, where New York City takes its own character. But in this, I felt that with every turn of the corner that our characters were going through and that we follow with it, we see a new landscape that Chinatown in San Francisco is creating for us. I mean, something that
Yeah.
really stuck out to me was this big Chinese gang street brawl in an alley.
Yeah.
About
Yeah.
There's about 19
That's
minutes in the film.
yeah,
Go.
it's like that's like I would say it's like the first set piece in the movie, for sure. And you could argue that it's the most exciting. It's not the most like remembered. I would say the most remembered moment in the entire movie is probably when the dude like inflates and then explodes, which is like it's
Campy.
horrifying. It's horrifying at a
Yes.
certain to a certain point because like think about it, like if I would have seen this when I was like 7 years old, I would have thought that was like the scariest shit ever, you
Yeah.
know. But the standoff in that scene, that was all a set. It wasn't like filmed on location or anything. That which is pretty cool because the set looks great. It looks
Mhm.
great.
Mhm.
And it's like it's when you get introduced to the three storms and you're really introduced to what like your main,
Mhm.
like you're kind of getting the idea of what's going on with this movie. What I really like is the dude swinging the butcher knife.
Yeah.
And he's like, and you just see Kurt Russell like, what the hell is going on right now? Where am I? Even the dude sitting next to him is like, I live here. I don't know what's going on. Like,
To play off your point about that element of we're kind of dragged along as Kurt Russell is into this weird world of what is going on and as you said, he's like, what is this? We're like, what is this too? And I found that to be very appealing. It reminded a film that I love, that is similar to this in this kind of cult classic, late 70s, 80s, film is the Warriors, and you're traveling. It's
Yeah.
similar in the sense that you're traveling through this area, and at any point there's an unexpected turn.
Yeah.
Things become windy. And to play off again your point about the set design, I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. I
Yeah.
mean,
So good. The
unbelievable.
makeup work in this movie is so
Yes, the
like so
tunnels,
good. Yeah.
the tunnels they have throughout this layered Chinese gang hideout. I mean,
Yeah. Because once they're like down, like in there, you're like, what? Where am I right now? Like you have no idea where the
yeah,
heck you are. You know what I
exactly,
mean?
exactly.
There's like monsters and all this other kind of stuff like going on. And you're like, dude, like I literally have no idea what's gonna happen next in this movie. I literally have zero idea. So,
And and another thing I found very interesting was the role of the character who is how number one all of these characters connect, and that's the role of the character of Wang Chi, Dennis Dunn's character's love interest. Her name was Mao Yin. Um,
hmm
you know, where when Kurt Russell and Dennis Dunn, when Wang Chi and Jack Burton are the characters' names, they go to the airport to pick up this girl. It's a
yeah.
seemingly
Dude,
easy
that
path.
airport, how weird is that airport? That is the weirdest,
Yes, yes.
like,
And
I
this
guess this
Chinese
is coming,
gang is
like,
just
was
coming
that the
in out of
way?
nowhere. A
What was, did you
Chinese
see?
gang is coming in
Okay,
out of nowhere.
there's a like specific thing that I noticed with the Chinese gang. Like, so I rewatched it yesterday. I wish I would have gotten through the entire thing because now it is not available on Hulu or HBO Go or anywhere, which is a real bummer. But um something that I noticed that like one of the guys in the Chinese gang was wearing these like glasses
Glasses, yes.
with slits for eyes, which is like if somebody wore that in a movie today, they oh my god, they would get in so much trouble.
Mhm.
It's like
And not only that,
dude's
I
not
mean,
even. I was like, where did I was like, first off, where'd you get those glasses, dude? Like, where? Second off, this is not okay. Like, I think this goes for both of these movies too. This movie could never, ever, ever get made today. Ever, ever. I don't even think they could remake it. To be honest with you, I
I,
think there
I
would be there
definitely
there would
agree.
be a lot.
And if
Yeah,
they did
and
remake it, it would be bad. It would be bad. It wouldn't work.
yeah, it wouldn't. No, 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 because they're like hypothetical. They take um Kurt Russell, like you take Kurt Russell's character and you replace it with like who else but like The Rock or like Jason Statham. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work with anybody else but Kurt Russell because Kurt Russell is like the king of this. Like that Snake from Escape from New York. You can't like he's used to playing that guy. He's
Mhm.
like he knows what he's doing when
Mhm.
he's playing that guy. He's the best when he's that guy. You know what I mean?
And
Like
I just want to circle around back to this point about about this character Miao Yin, the girlfriend. I mean, she's supposed to be the centerpiece of why they're going on this adventure. I mean, the first thing is they're gonna go pick her up from the airport. That's the simple drawing line of what's supposed to happen in this scene. Is they're going to the airport to pick up this girl, and then he's supposed to pay some gambling debt. But then this girl gets kidnapped, and she doesn't have it. She has one line in the movie. She has one line in the movie, and it's like I can't even remember. It's like a one word, one line. It's so small, but yet it's kind of like a MacGuffin aspect to it
yeah,
because
yeah. She
you're just like
becomes what they're fighting for and
she becomes
everything.
what they're fighting
Yeah.
from, but you don't see what it is. I mean, it's the love interest, but she's a character that is the goal, but you don't you even the scenes where it's like her interaction with the guys who have kidnapped her. I mean, she's just laying there. She's not doing anything. She's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
tied up or in some trance or something. And I found that to be very interesting. And a lot of great filmmakers do that with characters. And I found that very fun to find in something campy and
Yeah.
comedic.
I
Like
mean, the motivation for the bad guy is that like he wants to sacrifice her so that his life is longer, and it just becomes it becomes a MacGuffin. You know
mm,
what I mean?
they-
They build it and they make you understand like why they would take this girl and why this guy, because I feel like any other thing like they would have made it like an object, you know it would have been much different,
Yeah,
would
definitely.
they?
I mean, it would be completely, and it would be weird, and they do kind of create her. I mean, I don't mean to sound as to say that she is an object, but they objectify her as a woman to be this sort of symbolic reference of youth for this guy who wants to take her and use her for his power of staying, of rejuvenating himself, and for this, for even our, the guy who's trying to rescue her, Wang Chi. She is this symbol of, wow, I got the girl. I have this girl. I've finally done all I need to do to bring this
Yeah.
girl to be with me finally. And it's like, nope, nobody. Sorry,
Yeah.
not gonna happen.
And you know what the funny thing is too is that like he's kind of the main character of
Mhm.
the movie. Like I think they use Kurt Russell as like your vehicle into the movie. Like we said, like he's completely foreign to what's going on here, but what they really want to show you is Wang. Like he's the character that like he's like fighting people, doing all this cool stuff. He's acting all heroic. I mean, he's the driving force behind it. Like really, if Kurt Russell was just there, he would have been like, all right, like whatever. I don't know that girl. I'm out. We can see from the beginning of the movie that he's like very like I don't know how to describe it, but like he's just very like devil may care. Like he's
Mhm.
kind of like whatever. He's very
He has
sarcastic. He's
nothing.
funny,
He has
you
nothing
know.
to be attached to. He has nothing to be
Yeah,
attached
no,
to,
nothing. There's
which
nothing
is
that he's
a great form of character development for this kind of movie, for these adventurous kind of movies.
yeah,
I have this
yeah,
guy who has no care in the world, who really doesn't give a shit about anything, then start to have to develop some sort of, bond with these people, even though he doesn't necessarily want to. And then he does develop the bond, and
yeah.
he gets a girl for himself and everything. And I want to now transition into, before we move on to the next film, I want
Uh-huh.
to transition into the campiness about this and talk a little bit about this 80s campiness, horror comedy infusion. I mean, I thought that it was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I
Yeah.
thought, I thought,
Carpenter, yeah. The thing is that Carpenter does this the best. Like he's the one who knows how to do this the best. Like any other person trying to emulate this, like the only way I can think of like like somebody doing kind of the same thing is the movie that I'm going to recommend to you the next time, Evil Dead. Like they like it's there's very like it has very similar
mm,
aspects to the way it feels, you know what I mean? Um it's just it has like a different that feel, like an 80s movie does. Like it's hard to describe like a good 80s movie feel, you know? It could you can't achieve it now, especially with like digital and everything like that. Like people filming like you would never get that feel from digital. You would you couldn't because
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. It has this feel. But like, tell me what you thought about it. Tell me what you thought
I mean,
about
I thought it was. I think you hit the head on the nail. I mean, I thought it was, very. It had the feel to it. It had the feel that I feel like I needed with these kind of movies. The same way I feel with The Warriors or something like that. And look, I am no expert on, 80s campy movies. I mean, of course, you have the more horror 80s movies like Halloween and Jason, and those I'm very familiar with. And even those, you still have that 80s film. And for us, I think now that we are, young, and we live in a generation that is completely separated from away from media, away from,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and
Any
stuff.
kid our age has sought those movies out. They've
Exactly.
looked for it. They didn't grow up with it out. They wasn't like
Exactly.
out when or it wasn't like on HBO or anything like that. It's not like and they weren't all like people our age aren't relying or not even our age, like younger, aren't relying on the television to show them things. They get a pop-up and they get shown like this is what's on and it's like okay, I'll pick that. And most things are going to be like very like thought through. The like Netflix movies and everything like that are going to be completely different.
It's fun. It's a
Like,
fun
yeah.
movie. It's a fun movie reminiscent of a time that is post 70s, post the Lucas, Spielberg, Scorsese, Coppola feel that they're like, oh, we don't want to be in this big production company cinema. We want to have independent cinema. And this is the child of that idea, of the idea that you don't need to be part of a big studio to make a movie. And
Yeah.
it's a sillier version than anything like Scorsese or a Spielberg or a Lucas or anything like that, but it has that feel of, this is not a studio film. This is a film made on a low budget. I mean, it was a budget of $20 million and it only grossed $11 million in the box office.
Yeah.
And to go off your point back to what you said about if they got Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, for example, to come in. It's funny that you say that because in June 2015, Dwayne Johnson had a good idea to develop this movie into a remake and him be Jack Burton, and it seems that
it never got anywhere.
He wanted to involve John Carpenter, but it didn't seem like John Carpenter really wanted to do it at all.
No, because the thing is like Kurt Russell is a different type of like action hero.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He's a much different type of action hero. It's hard to tell who, like, it's not that I wouldn't watch that movie. I feel like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson could be a lot of fun in a movie like that, but I just don't feel that he has the right feel for the type of guy that should be in that role. You know what I mean? Like he just shouldn't be in that role. He's an over the top, he's an over the top action hero. Like, you need, like, the Fast movies, that's where his bread and butter is. That's where I want him. I don't need him in this, like, or like Escape from Witch Mountain or those Jumanji movies or anything like that. Like, that's where he should stay. That's what he does well. Big stupid roles, movie. Yeah.
Those, they're fine. Now, before we move on to what I don't like about it, and then we move on to you, I mean, I really enjoyed it. The one thing I would say that I didn't like at times, and this is because, and you guys will see this as we go on with this podcast, I am very, very, very adamant on good writing in a screenplay. And I felt that at times, but before I say this, I felt that in the beginning, the screenplay was, it wasn't that good. I didn't buy what they were saying. But then as it grew and grew and it played on more, I thought it got way better. I thought at the beginning of the movie, I thought the lines were kind of cringy. But then as it built and built and built, I thought it got a lot better. And
makes you appreciate what's going on in the beginning of the movie a lot better, right?
Exactly.
Because the first things that you hear him say are over the radio, and he's very like he's like dicking around and everything like that, so like,
and to play off that point too, and I found this very interesting. You're constantly moving in this movie. I mean,
it's forward action. If you're not moving in this movie, you're dead.
It doesn't stop. And then even at the end, what is he doing in the last scene? He's on the move again. He's back in his truck. Where's he next? Which leaves you, and you say cliffhanger, at another cliffhanger of what's he going to do next? What is Jack Burton going to do next?
Yeah.
For himself. And I also want to touch on the character of Jack Burton. I mean, he's this typical 80s macho guy, but yet, and normally that would, especially now in our generation, that would be construed as someone who is pretty intolerant. So now the big reveal, we're going to be doing this. We both like this app that we have on our phone. We highly recommend it for anyone, but specifically people that really like film to get. It's called Letterboxd.
It's pretty popular, but I mean, definitely get Letterboxd, free app. And we'll definitely, every single time we recommend a movie, we'll ask each other what our score was on the Letterboxd, and we'll get each other's scores, and we'll see what's up. So what did you rate it? My rating was a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I gave it a 4 out of 5 as well. I mean,
we're in agreement. That's not going to always happen.
No, that's not going to always happen.
Not always going to happen.
And most of the time it won't happen.
Yeah, most of the time it won't. This is definitely going to be a super rare occurrence the first time.
But I gave it a 4, and I gave it a 4 because for what it is, for the genre it is, and for what it does, I very much enjoyed it. I very much enjoyed it. So that's a 4 stars for me on my Letterboxd. Now let's go segue into Something like
The
that.
movie.
I just want to give some backstory on it as well. It's 1959, Marilyn Monroe, black and white, Tony Curtis, great actor, Jack.
Although, can you watch this in color? I'm just wondering. There must be
No,
a colorized
color
version.
version of it, but you know
But
me.
I honestly, I prefer. I'm gonna say that I much prefer the black and white version. It was great.
Yeah,
It was good.
yeah. I mean, it's one of my favorite older comedies. You know, it's a funny movie. It's engaging. It's fun. It's fun, and I think they're all great. I love Jack Lemmon, and I love Billy Wilder, who's one of my, as I said before, one of my favorite directors. But what did you think about it, Ryan?
First off, this movie could never fucking get. This movie could never get made today, ever. White Chicks was made what, like 20 years ago or something like that, and has a similar like kind of situation, you know. And it's very funny because the rich millionaire guy is kind of what Terry Crews' character is in that movie, right? Where he's like chasing after him. I love the ending. The ending was
Yeah.
probably the funniest part of the entire movie. They saved the biggest laugh, which is so good. They saved the biggest laugh in the entire movie for last, which was great. You'll definitely, when people saw this in the theater, they left the movie like dying laughing and like having like oh, that was so good. I loved it, you know. So like I said, that's so great.
Mhm.
I So if you look back, you know, it's really funny because this takes place in during Prohibition,
Mhm.
correct?
Mhm.
So it's really funny when like Marilyn Monroe is like dancing, and so now that I mention that, all her parts where she was singing and dancing, and they like make her like the center of it, she was good. She was really good.
Mhm.
I didn't dislike that. I really didn't dislike that at all. I thought it was really smart to like put, because the movie is about like a girls band, you
Mhm.
know. There's a
And
part of it that's
why don't
about
you?
that. So what the movie is about two uh band members from Chicago. They get into a little bit of hot water when they walk into a garage after like basically stealing a woman's car from her, basically, because he's like, come on baby, give me your car, and he's like, and then she's like, my car, and then just gives him her car, which is like, what the hell. And then, which I would love this if I was at a garage and they can just fill my car up with gas, and then they said like 50 cents. He probably got like 5 gallons of gas from that. Just saying, that would be amazing.
Mhm.
Um, so so then the mobsters like come in and they kill all these dudes that are playing in a card game. They come in, they kill those guys, and then they kill the gas attendant guy, and then they're trying to walk out. The one thing that I can say is that these guys have terrible timing. They're
Yeah.
the worst with timing. All the problems in this movie are caused because these guys have the worst timing of anybody in the like that is ever
Mhm.
like, you know. It's so funny because they're like, oh, they're still here when they just shot those guys. Let's walk out. Let's walk out. They're still there. And they turn, they see them, and then one guy tries to like call the police, but then they see that guy, and then they shoot him. They turn, shoot him, and the guys run out. And they before they had learned about a girls band going to Florida, and they go to the girls band in Florida, like, and they dress up as women, and then that, you know, sets the plot in motion. And a lot of the movie, they ignore the fact that they're running away from the gangsters until the very end of the movie, and that's actually a problem I had with it because they don't really, you know, build toward that. They just kind of like the bad guys just kind of show up at the end,
Mhm.
and they're like, and the bad guys wind up being like underlings to a worse bad guy, you know. And I kind of love the gangsters in this too,
Mhm.
because they're not very realistic at all. I like his one sidekick guy though,
Yeah.
the one with like the very stony face, I don't know what his name is, but he was good. He was really good in his role
and
in
and
this.
and I love that it's played during Prohibition. I love that these two guys, like you said, they're kind of the worst at having they just have the worst timing. Every situation that happens to them, they end up in some scenario that could not be the scenario they want to end up in. But they're always so silly about it. They're always so fun about
Yeah.
it. And they're always just in pursuit of Marilyn Monroe. They want Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah,
So
they both
hard
do. They
to
both
want
do,
Marilyn
but the other
Monroe
guy, yeah.
that they dress that one of them dresses up as a woman. That he that and it's another kind of fun adventure that we see these like two kind of like putzes just going
Yeah,
around,
literally
like trying to
they're
get
both
this
putts.
girl that's
They're
way
both
out of their league.
so out of their league because watching this I realized like wow, Marilyn Monroe was really like she was something back then, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? She's a looker for sure, but
yeah,
like it's it's really funny to see these two like nitwits basically try to like they're like pining after her, you know. I
uh,
what also I thought was funny was like a lot of things like show how like dated some parts of this movie are. Like when she goes into the bathroom and she's like hitting an ice like an ice block with an ice pick and she's breaking up ice with like and there's these giant fucking ice cubes,
yeah.
which is like ridiculous. And you're like, oh my god, like that's how they used to have to like crush ice. I can just go to my refrigerator now and get
Yeah,
ice. How amazing would they find that to be? You know, like there's just some things that date the movie a little bit, which is part of why like I didn't rate it quite as high. So I love the pacing of it. It's good. Um, let me think. What else do I really like? The dialogue is just so witty. It's a lot of fun. There's not really like a really dull moment in the film. Um, like every single thing has some type of motivate. Like the every single scene has some type of thing going on for it. I would say the standout like scene in it is when they're cutting back and forth between the two dates, the date on the boat and then the date at the dance in a row. So the Tony Curtis character is like making out with Marilyn Monroe, and then they cut to the other character, and he's like dancing with the old man, and they're like
Yeah,
biting the rose. That's so funny. I
yeah,
thought that was so great. I thought that was like one of the best parts of the entire movie. I was like, oh my god, this is so funny. Like this guy is like, please get me out of here, please. I'm doing like he's ultimate bro.
yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, he tells the old man like, he's like, oh, I'm a man. He's like, it's fine.
Yeah, very funny, very funny. Great, great.
So yeah,
I love that movie, and absolutely hilarious. I mean, yeah, you would have trouble making that now. Having a man, dress and drag like this, and pretend to be a woman would definitely offend some people. And
I
I like
mean, I'm
we have
so
a movie that we can look back on it now and appreciate it. I don't think it's so out of it that it would be that offensive, but I think definitely in the process of writing a character like that, it would definitely not
you'd
be.
have to have more nuance to it now. Like you definitely because there's not like if you're looking for a politically correct movie, look elsewhere.
Yeah,
Do not look at this movie. Don't go anywhere near this movie actually. One thing I noticed is that they call women dames like
yeah.
every single there's no point when
It's
they
that
caught
50.
they
It's that 50 slapstick. That kind of hey, buddy, hey, fella, how you doing?
there's this one point when like they see them running and then the guys go, "That's no dame." And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, okay.
Yeah.
Oh my
Right.
god. And
But
it's like and what also is really bad and like what dates this movie a lot is like they don't portray women well at all.
no.
Like at all. Like it's not
But this is
this
the
movie
time.
is not for that.
This is
It's
not a
the
movie
times,
that is
you know.
this is not a movie that is supposed to be looked at with the eyes of political correctness. This is a movie that was made in 1959. There's a lot of things different, but for its time, it was quite advanced in the material it's
Yeah,
about. I mean,
yeah.
you could not
I mean,
see that
what
in
was this
most
made in?
movies in the 50s and
Yeah, this
60s
is made in
even.
'59, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, that's what I look at. I'm like, wow, they made a movie about two men cross dressing as women in order to get out of a like. And what's funny now is that if you tried to make that now, somebody'd be like, "What? Oh, that's funny." Like men
Mhm.
dressing as women. It's like, well, for the time, yeah, that's really funny. I still
Mhm.
think that's pretty funny because they're like very they try to be like very macho guys all the
Mhm.
time, you know.
Mhm.
But but they're very obviously not, and it's just this nice kind. I don't know. It's
And
fun.
and and
It's a lot of fun, man.
an interesting thing about that movie is actually when it came out in 1959, it did not have the approval of the Motion Picture Production Code because it had ideas of homosexuality and it included cross dressing. And they in the movie picture code back then they did not want that. They did not want those topics to be discussed, and they found them to be inappropriate. And you have to hand it to them to be able to. This is innovative for something to come out on in the 50s and 60s because nobody was making that. And
No,
yes, while it is a joke, and there's and it holds comedy to it, it is very much pushing the paper for the time, and I really enjoyed it. So what did you, Ryan, what did you rate it? What was your rating on it?
I gave this a 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. Good, good, good.
Yeah, yeah. I like I said, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun for what it was. There's movies that, are around the same time that I enjoy more that are much different. I don't know. I guess what took away from it for me is like I, they didn't focus enough on the bad guys. I feel like there might be some deleted like some stuff that they filmed with the
Mhm,
bad guys, kind of like because they weren't bad. I wish I would have gotten more of them. You know
mhm,
what I mean? It
mhm.
just kind of like they come out and they kill the guy like at the end of the movie, and you're like, well, what's going on? Like this guy's dead now. And then I love when the FBI agent like walks in and and they're like, what do you want to make a federal case out of it? And he's like, yeah, I do want to make a federal case out of it. I'm an FBI agent. Like,
Yes, very, very, very funny. Um, yeah, I mean, and as you guys will listen to us and hear us talk, a 4 out of 5 for us is not an easy rating. I mean, we're
no,
pretty
not at
hard
all.
raters. And you
I
know,
would say our rating system goes like anything below a 3 uh, is not good.
is
It's not
below.
good. 2.5 means like it's a movie. I watched it. I didn't like
It's a
absolutely
movie I
hate it.
watched and I wasn't, I didn't feel like I wasted my time watching it, but I didn't feel like I gained anything from it or
Yeah,
felt that it was quite enjoyable. A 3 is, yeah,
yeah.
diet,
Three is like
diet.
3 to me can mean like there's one or two scenes that I like.
Mhm,
Then I'm like, oh, that, or if I go, oh, that was fun.
mhm,
If I walk out going, oh, I had fun watching that. That's that. 3.5 means like there's probably a little bit more there. There's probably a couple more scenes that I like. 4 means I really like the movie. 4.5 is like we're getting into like award territory, and 5 is like I thought that this is like a perfect movie, and it might not be a perfect movie for you, but it's like a perfect movie for me.
mhm,
Like,
mhm.
and sometimes things like that can like
Yeah, and I mean, again, there's also the sentimental value that films play with anyone, not just us, but anyone, and that definitely change your perspective. I would say for me, yeah, it's similar. I would say like a 3.5. A 3 is it was fine. It was I. It was there were scenes I liked, there were scenes I didn't like. A 3.5 is, it was good, but I still found some stuff missing. A 4 it was good, borderline, it was good. It was good enough. Yeah. But if you guys have seen these movies and you have your opinions, please, we'd love to hear them.
Yeah, I'd like to read other people's opinions
Yeah, we'd
of
love
it.
to hear your opinions about these films. And if you have any recommendations of films we should give each other, you can, definitely shoot those out to us. We would love to
Yeah.
hear them as well. Once again, these films were 1959, Some Like It Hot. That was my recommendation for Ryan. And Ryan's recommendation for me was 1986, John Carpenter, Big Trouble in Little China. So now that is the next films we will be recommending for each other and why. Ryan, why don't you go ahead and go first?
Okay, so mine, we're gonna stay in the same kind of vein of the Big Trouble in Little China. I mentioned it before, but we're gonna go with the Sam Raimi Evil Dead, the original. There's a lot of things that we can get into with this movie. I think that I can probably tell you a couple things once we're podcasting about it and we talk about it that there's probably so I'm gonna give you Evil Dead, the Sam Raimi movie. This is really interesting. There's three of
That's
these movies.
1981, right? 1981.
I believe so. It's early '80s movie made on like a shoestring budget.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
$350,000
Stephen
budget.
King loves this movie. Uh, and yeah, I think that we're in the same kind of vein here. I think people can kind of see what my avenue is here. And Chris, why don't you give me my movie?
Yeah, for you, I'm going a little modern. I'm going to a director you like a lot, and I like him too, but not as much as you do. And that's David Fincher. Um,
Mm,
and that's The Social Network. Now, for me, this movie is not a movie that I would consider a 5-star movie. If it's a 4-star, it's just at the top cusp of a 4-star, and because I appreciate the material for it. Um, but that's my opinion. But I think you will enjoy it. It's the 2010 movie about the starting of Facebook with Jesse Eisenberg and Andrew Garfield and Justin Timberlake's in it. And
which is weird. This is when this is around the same time that like Justin Timberlake was in like he starred in another one where they had like the clock in
exactly.
their arm,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Oh, what was that? In
I,
Time or something?
in Time, I think that was what it
Yeah,
was called. I think that was
yeah,
what it
I've
was
seen
called.
it
I
too.
never saw it. I know
This
the
is when
movie.
Justin Timberlake was really trying to, go into acting. But this
He's
movie,
okay in this. He's okay in this.
the
He ain't
budget,
bad.
$40 million, box office at 224. It's a good movie. It's a fine movie. It's a movie that you should see because it talks about one of the most powerful people.
In the
And and,
world right
and this is
now.
a
Yeah.
Zuckerberg. This is a Zuckerberg before all the stuff of Zuckerberg is now. How we view Zuckerberg now as this media mogul. This is Zuckerberg. This came out when Facebook was the biggest thing, but he was still a kid. This is not adult 40-year-old lizard person Zuckerberg. This is late 20s, early 30s, not a lizard person yet, but might be. And the story is talking, and that's just the perspective of how we viewed Zuckerberg at the time of this release. Because I remember when this came out.
Yeah, I
Um,
do too.
and,
I was in
and
high school when this came out.
exactly, and this talks about Zuckerberg when he was just a college student. So it's a very interesting tale. I mean, it can carry. Now, I don't want to offend film people here, and I don't think it is like Citizen Kane as a film, but it carries a similar story, as in the story of someone who. I mean, Citizen Kane is about Hearst, right? It's about Hearst, William Randolph Hearst, who was one of the biggest media moguls when he was, his rise to power and everything. And this is very much similar in that it is the showing the rise of someone who is now one of the most biggest people, one of the most known, most
Very
powerful people
powerful, yeah.
in the
Very
world.
powerful
And
people.
this is
You know,
showing at
that
his
makes me
age
want
when
to,
he
yeah.
was young, when he was developing, and it's very interesting. As a film, it's in my opinion, But I look forward to hearing what you have to say about it. But
Yeah, I think I mean, so I this is a movie that I have seen.
mhm,
I'm not gonna like we said, these are sometimes these are going to be movies that we haven't yet that maybe we haven't seen in a long time. Like I probably haven't watched this movie in, I don't know,
Hmm.
probably like 6 7 years, something like that. I've definitely caught bits and pieces of it, but never watched it like the full way through again. I do really like this movie. I think it's very good, and I know what you're saying with the like like I love me some Mindhunter. That's another Fincher thing. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, yeah. That's Fincher stuff. And you know, he has a feel to his movies that's very different from the way most people do things. You saying that makes me want to go back and watch Citizen Kane when I watch this. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think we should so Evil Dead is obviously it's like early Sam Raimi. This is when he's like getting his start and everything like that. I think this, if I'm not mistaken, I think this went to Cannes back in the 80s. If I'm not mistaken, it didn't win anything at Cannes, but I'm pretty sure it went to Cannes. Um, and you know, it was really spearheaded by Stephen King seeing it and really liking it. It really helped things, you know, move along for this movie for such a popular writer at the time to, you know, see it. Um, to to put it lightly, this is like a movie that made me want to make movies because I saw how silly and fun a movie can be, and I said to myself, "Wow, like people, you can make that. You can like this is a thing that exists." You know, this movie definitely has a lot like very sentimental value to me because it introduced me to like the John Carpenter, the Thing, and all that type of stuff. Because after I watched this, I was like get me into like I want to watch all this stuff. You know, um, great horror movie. It's all about like the shock horror in this. Things pick up pretty fast.
Hmm.
Uh, so you know,
Yeah, yeah. I'm
you're gonna see a
excited.
lot of women screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's funny. I've seen the second one, and of course, the book series. This is a popular series. The toys, everything. I mean, like Big Trouble in
there's
Little
a
China.
TV show.
Yeah,
There's a TV show.
and there's a remake of it.
There's a remake there, and the remake is pretty good.
Yeah, Ash versus the Evil Dead, which is on Showtime. I don't know if it's still running. I've never really
I
watched
don't think it is. It's on
it.
Netflix. It's on Netflix
Um,
though.
1982 about Cannes. It got screened at the 1982 Cannes Film Festival. It wasn't nominated though for anything, but it did.
Yeah, but still, to make it into that film festival
Yes, to
says
do it on
something.
screen is very interesting, and it's a horror. It's an 80s, it's going to be that 80s campy comedy, horror aspect to it that I'm excited to look forward, to seeing. As I've seen the second one, but yeah, so I'm interested in it, and it'll be exciting. Now, let's move forward to what we
Things that
want to
we, yeah,
tell you guys a little bit about what our goals are for this pod, and what we hope to be able to do as we continue this. Obviously, this is our first one, and we hope you've enjoyed it so far. But just exchanging movies is not the only thing we want to be doing here. We definitely
yeah,
want to be doing a lot of other things, as we mentioned at the beginning. And I just want to say something about this. We're going to be doing in-depth analysis of movies that we love. Whether it's going into each Star Wars movies and just talking. I mean, we both are huge Star Wars guys.
yeah,
Both, and we're not going to just be doing like these popular kind of action adventure movies. I mean, I'm a big classic film guy. I'm going to make this kid watch a million 1940s, 50s black and white films, a million foreign films.
yeah.
Every film.
I have a feeling that the Social Network is probably going to be one of the very few movies in color that I get to watch.
Oh,
So I'll take this.
completely right
Yeah,
about that. You are absolutely right about that. And we're interested to hear ideas from you guys, hear what you guys want us to do. We want to immerse ourselves and all of you guys into everything and anything film. And we hope we can gain more intelligence on film than we already have, and we hope we
Yeah.
expand your library into movies that you would not normally watch and give you some fun while at it. And Ryan, if you want to add some stuff, go right ahead.
I mean, things that I want to do is like maybe like analysis of like trilogies. Maybe we can do things where we just talk about one certain movie. I mean, I'm sure that we could probably do so much time on just like the Christopher Nolan Batman series, but that's such like a cliche like thing that like people like men our age have watched. But like I feel like we can talk about it a lot. Um, what else could we do? I mean, there's a lot of things. There's
We love Christopher Nolan Batman. Just
yeah,
so you know, listen, I'm not an Ryan likes the Marvel stuff. I don't. It's not my thing. It's not my thing. I watch
no,
him
I
because
love that shit.
I have to watch him. But it's not my thing. It's not what I look at. But I love the Christopher Nolan Batmans. Oh my god, they are one of my favorite hero movies. Maybe they might even be my favorite superhero movies. My
I
favorite
mean, I
superhero
mean,
movies.
by all measures, critically, those are the best superhero movies. Critically, I would say, like if you're gonna look at a way to make one, you would look toward those movies to show people like this is what it is. This is what this genre is all about, because this is like that's like a completely different genre of action movies because they have a very specific, you know.
No, also director retrospectives. I'm sure we want to do a Scorsese one,
Yeah,
Christopher Nolan one,
we'll do
um,
a Tarantino one for sure
Tarantino
because I'm sure
one,
that we've both seen every
Tarantino,
single Tarantino movie, which isn't hard
Tarantino,
to do.
Tarantino, Tarantino, Tarantino. Everybody loves Tarantino. He just rips
Yeah,
off everybody, but whatever. You know, a Coppola one. I mean, we want to be able to bring all the content we can about film, and foreign to everything. I mean, Ryan knows this, but I love foreign films, and you know, I think we want to also do like retrospectives even on trilogies themselves. What are the best trilogies? Why? Are they necessarily the trilogies that are popular like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings? Or are they some like like the Three Colors trilogy by Krzysztof Kieslowski, the great Polish director? Or something,
the
more
Dollars trilogy.
exactly the Dollars trilogy, the Sergio Leone
Oh,
classic
so good,
western. And of
so
course,
good.
we're going to be doing genres as well. We definitely want to take deep dives into genres like film noir, um, um,
Westerns.
westerns, German expressionism, all these avenues we're going to be traveling down, and we're excited and hopeful you'll join us on these experiences. And yeah, other than that, thank you again for tuning in to
Yeah, thanks
Arts and
for.
Cinema.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm Chris. That's
I'm
Ryan.
Ryan.
Yeah. Thanks again, and we will see you soon with the next episode. Bye.